All right, good evening. Welcome to Third Rail Thursday. Derailed with me. I'm Denny, channel's N Scale Dystopia, and it's like an awesome night, and I'm really happy to be hanging out with some people. Actually, it's been a great week. It's good to be down here in this room, although we'll talk about that in a second. And looking forward to just going over some stuff. Most particularly how I'm not sure if I broke the law this week, train spotting. And so I've got a bunch of footage and notes to talk about because I feel like this gets to be a bit of a gray area, or at least I'm super ignorant about it. And so I thought we could chat about whether or not I did a good thing or a bad thing. I had fun either way, and I didn't get caught, but maybe I wasn't supposed to be rail fanning in a spot that I was rail fanning. Anyway, first off, let's say hello to a couple people here because you guys have been crawling through this chat like crazy tonight. Good evening, Bruce and Brian Ferguson. I Run Games, good to see you. George McCormick, James from Dundas Junction, Todd Armstrong, Mark from M&M Rails is here. Brian. BN Ironwood, how are you doing? Curly Express, good evening. Curly, M&M, Curly, Dundas. Oh, you guys have been talking up a storm in here. Bruce, good evening. Rob James, hello. And there we go. So first off, this past week, I guess on the weekend, we had a moment of really torrential rain. And the bottom line, my basement got wet. So to sort of set the stage, my house is actually quite old. It was built in 1888. And so while it has some nice parts to it, it does have some faults. And the one is that if it rains too much and gets overwhelmed, parts of the rubble stone foundation leak. And I came down after the rain the next morning, and to sort of explain the layout of this house, it has a full basement, which is crazy. And this room that's back here, it's 9.5 feet by about 20 feet long. I took some time about 15 or 20 years ago and refinished it. It was going to be a playroom, but my kids did not like playing in a dungeon, so it just turned into a storage room. The rest of the basement, beyond this room, is right at a Blair Witch Project. Even I turn off the lights and run up the stairs when I'm in the back there. So we had this big rain. I came downstairs, I looked around, looked good in here, stuck my head into the back room, like a bucket full of water in the middle of the floor. Perfect. I mean, that's not uncommon. What I didn't realize was that had seeped out under the carpet. So the underpad in here was apparently soaking wet, but the carpet wasn't. And so when I was down on the weekend then and doing some stuff, eventually I started hearing this squish noise, and I looked down and there's like a throw rug size of just complete damp. So I've been trying to vacuum up some of that water, and I'm running a fan. I wouldn't say it stinks down here, but I would say that it has been fresher in the past. So it will get dried up in time. When I did get the carpet put in this room roughly 20 years ago, it was a mildew and mold resistant underpad and carpet specifically for basement. So it'll be fine. I just don't like having the room so damp because, as I've learned in the past, it makes the bench work go crazy, which I don't need any of that nonsense in my life. Anyway, so the two things I want to do tonight is I'm going to go over a couple of things that I've got and been working on, and then I want to go and take a good look at Bayview Junction, attempt to show you some footage and such, and see if we can't have a bit of fun figuring out whether or not I ran afoul of the laws. And you know, I even took some time to make notes so that, you know, I can share good experiences with you. Anyway, purchases or things that I've picked up along the way. I actually got another Via Rail P42, and I bought this off of eBay, and it's a bit of a challenging story because I saw this on eBay and it had a very good price, and it's a Kato, which you know, the P42s is probably my favorite via rail engine. So I picked this up on eBay, came in the box, took a look at it, pristine condition, no problem. And the truth was I didn't run it. I didn't check it. And then a couple months later, I put on the layout and I didn't run. And I did get in touch with the seller, and to his credit, he was great. He explained that it ran when before he sold it. It was from a hobby shop, like a commission, and it wouldn't run for me. So I took it apart, and it turns out that you needed to give the motor a bit of a nudge to get it going. And so I thought that maybe I could clean it and get it fixed. And at the end of the day, I needed to buy a new motor for it, which is only $30 US. So at the end of the day, Kato is re-releasing these this fall. I probably have now paid as much for the used as the new, but at the same time, I guess you could also say it avoided a landfill, and I'm very happy to have it. It runs great now. Just swap out the motor. And the other thing I did with it, for anyone who is interested, is that the Kato couplers on the rear end don't work real well with any of sort of the North American standard couplers. And so they are an absolute cinch to replace with just some microtrain couplers. These are the underslung short shank body mount couplers. There's 2 pairs in a package. I don't worry about changing out the front coupler on this because I'm not going to ever lash it up. And so I've got, you know, a pack of 4, that's 4 engines. It is a treat to change. You pull out one little spring, put in one screw, and away you go. So that's great. I also took it as an opportunity to get a few extra little Kato parts because I was given this F40, and it's a Kato, and someone grabbed it for me. It was sort of like in a dustbin, basically, and they said, oh my goodness, it's via rail. They picked it up, and they said, this is for you. And it's basically a wreck. So first of all, like, the shell isn't even attached anymore, and it wasn't until I took a close look that it's missing the front plow. All the glazings are missing, the horns are all broken off, and it had a burned out DCC chip in it. So while I was ordering that motor, for another $10, I got a new lighting board, I got a snow plow, I've got some lights, but they're out of the windshields and such. So I've put this all back together. It runs a treat as well, and this could become something custom. I did some Go Transit, a little bit of a custom livery, and I might turn this into a Go Transit because having a Kato Go Transit engine would be great. I'd really like that. So it's not a total loss to get these things. It's a bit of a buyer beware. Again, I'm not upset with the seller. Yeah, that's the way it is. Richard, I was going to mention that you're in a spot that CN doesn't like people in. Yeah, I understand that, which is why I actually did this. Oh man, get yourself a dehumidifier. I had a similar problem with my cellar. Develop mold. Yeah, I probably should have mentioned there's a dehumidifier in the next room hooked up to a drain. So it's just running all the time. Let me see. In terms of what I'm doing, and I might not even touch this much tonight, I'm still putting together buildings. I've got tons of kit stuff that was in my box, and I'm just recombining buildings and little bits and trying to work through the box and build primed structures that I'm putting behind me as part of the city. I mentioned, you know, in that recent video that I was actually having a lot of fun just building buildings, and I still am. So I'm coming down here, sitting in the damp, building some buildings, and just actually watching live streams and hanging out. Good evening, Pedro Spicer. And Floyd, and Cross Rails, and N Scale Train Boy. Oh, you're all running in now. Good to see you. So let's actually, I want to get to Bayview Junction. So let's see if I can't bring a picture. This is going to be new for me because I'm going to do a little bit of multimedia stuff with you. So this is a map of the area that I was out train spotting. And so Bayview Junction is right sort of on the edge of Hamilton and Burlington in Ontario. And it is a spot, you can see where my little logo is there. that the CN Dundas sub, the Oakville sub, and the Grimsby sub all meet up. So it is a pretty high traffic area. And it apparently, according to the statistics, it's CN owned tracks and infrastructure, and it has a really high volume of rail traffic. Apparently, it gets between 45 and 50 freight trains daily. Much of that apparently is in the early hours of the day, the morning time. And you will also typically see between 30 and 40 passenger movements through that area. And where I may or may not have been legally or illegally, has a bunch of signal blocks in every vantage. Like, you can see all subs from this one spot. And so how I managed to get there, I hope you can sort of see this. I'll try to explain myself as best I can, is that I just parked at a place called the Grindstone Marsh. You'd have to look this up on Google Maps to figure it out, but there is a lovely little parking spot with a path there. And you make your way on a footpath, and it actually crosses under the east and westbound tracks, and you get to a little incline, and you climb up the incline, which is paved, and you're standing right where that green dot is. And you can see east, west, and northwest all from that one spot on the pavement. Again, it is a brand new riding path, I would say. It's like a bike path or a walking path, and brand spanking new. I mean, that picture in Google Maps is showing it under construction at the time. And so, as I said, I just came off the marsh. I walked underneath, I walked to the top of the hill, and I'm standing there literally on a paved path, looking all three directions, and I said, this is amazing. And it is definitely one of the areas to go, but what we'll talk about is it seems to be in dispute whether or not you're allowed to be there. And I've had some people mention to me that, oh, the CN police don't like it. For what it's worth, there is another area that you can use. And on that little map there, it's the Spring Gardens. And so you can park in that Spring Gardens parking lot, and there is a overpath that goes over that east and westbound tracks. And there's no problem. You can stand up there, and like, you can just do all your railfanning there. Perfect, no problem. Same thing goes for the highway up above, but for sure there is a non-confrontational spot that you can go to. So this was this past Friday that I went out, and so I hung out, and the reason I went out is I actually wanted to catch the Amtrak Maple Leaf, and I managed to get that. I got via 71, via 70, the 98, the Maple Leaf, and about 3 or 4 freight trains that were running through the area. And so anyway, I went out, I had my tripod, I had my camera, I set up, and I did a bunch of filming. And let me just see if I can't show you the way that we got there. Just anyone who is interested in going out. So this is a couple footpaths, just really quickly to describe it. Those green lines, I hope they're showing up, but there is a rock garden that you can park at, and there is a path that interestingly goes down the side of the bridge. It comes out across a level crossing and makes its way down to the Bayview area. There's where I parked in the south end of this picture, and then there's the other spot that you can park. So there's 3 ways to get to this this sort of vantage point. Good evening, Mr. Stamp. And August. Anyway, all that is to say that I went down, I had absolutely no problems. I hung out, I got lots of pictures. It was a great spot. I even had the Go guys throwing the horn at me. But it did raise the question of whether or not I was actually trespassing. And I had some sort of cursory knowledge, and I think someone's even mentioned it here, which is that, oh, well, so long as you're staying on, you know, so many feet away from the rails and such, you should be in good shape. So I have information about if we want to take a look at this. So, number one, being on, so this is CN maintained tracks. Being on those tracks is a federal offense under the Railway Safeties Act. So, number one, not cool. And although there are definitions of what trespassing is, absolute trespassing would be known as if you're stepping on ballast, tracks, or CN-owned land without permission. Okay? But CN has no obligation, or any of the rail authorities have no obligation, to put signs up to mark where public and private land is. So, you get into a bit of ambiguity, which is that you go to the next sort of thinking, which is the best practice. So, for the Canadian National Railway, the right-of-way is usually between 50 and 100 feet off the center of the main line. So you've got a swath that's 50 feet on either side of the tracks that you, in theory, are allowed to approach. However, there are no public accessible maps that you can find to figure out where that is. And in the case of the Royal Botanical Gardens, which is the sort of a public space that surrounds all of that, their paths and such may make their way onto these easements. And so you unknowingly may be trespassing, and it's really up to CN to police if they choose to do so. And so some of the ambiguity that I had around this is that as a best practice, you are allowed to stand on marked crossings. Here, maybe we'll do a... You're allowed to stand on a marked crossing. And so if you have a level crossing and you come up to it, you allegedly can cross over, which makes perfect sense. So stay off the ballast, get 50 feet away, but when you get to a crossing spot, you can cross over it. And so I did actually just walk off of this paved area, move my way into up to that spot, crossed over and crossed back. But the caveat to that I have now come to learn is that in and around that same area, there was piles of, let's say, ties and plates and tons of rail and an excavator and such. And that sort of supersedes your notions, because what it says is that this is maintenance stuff. You are now entering into a CN maintenance area because it is clearly with storage. And so now all bets are off, apparently. And so even though there might be these crossings that I can walk up to and cross over, you best not. It belongs to CN. So this spot, turns out, I did a lot of reading online, and it is rather controversial because it's not necessarily policed on a regular basis, nor would you hope it is. And then secondly, there are some inconsistencies about it. So again, you very innocently can walk down a path that is incredibly well maintained, and you may potentially be trespassing. And when you do so, you may know it because now you're sitting beside, as I said, ties and other sort of industrial equipment. There's a couple comments here I just want to jump to for a second. The bridge by the parking lot used to be used by cars, but they closed it years ago. The Around the Bay road race goes on that route up until a few years ago as well. Yeah, I noticed that that area was closed off. Sounds like you were staying as safe as you could within what you knew at the time, at least. N Scale Train Boy. So, yeah, to that point, I was being incredibly safe, but I did have a bit of a moment where I realized how important the rail safety is. If you take a look, the video here, this is coming from the Dundas sub, this particular CN freight train. It's coming from the Dundas sub and it's heading out towards the Oakville sub. And this was, I mean, you can't do much better than this in terms of seeing mixed freight. All of this is stuff that I'm interested in. There was an enormous amount of graffiti flew through here. Lots of wonderful examples of stuff that I can use now in terms of prototype. And it was a great spot. But what I would say is that there was one point in time where I went to this level crossing and I set up my tripod off of it, and I took a trot over the level crossing because there was a path that went by the ravine, and I went down the path. It was clearly a dead end. I turned around and came back, and a train was already passing over the level crossing. There was no horn, there was no roars of engines and such. I would honestly say it snuck up on me. Like, it completely surprised me. And, you know, you don't imagine that 300,000 tons can sneak up on you, and it absolutely did. And I feel like I was being safe. It wasn't windy. There wasn't sirens in the air. It just actually very literally caught me off guard. Denny, there is another spot near the cemetery track that goes to the train station just west of Bayview. Good to know. Johnny Knoxville, if you get arrested, it'll be your one phone call if you need to get bailed out. Thank you, Johnny. Pedro, I'm going to go to the NRA convention on a week from now. I plan on doing some train spotting along there. I may do a YouTube live. Go for it, Pedro. I check in on Pedro's channel all the time. He's got this lovely N Scale layout in his garage, but apparently it's like always very hot out there. We stand very close to Smith Falls. So it maybe would be worthwhile for me just to mention about CN Police and the authority that they have. So CN Police are federally appointed peace officers, which is great. And they have full authority on CN, for CN trains, of course, and CN properties. And they can issue fines, they can detain you, they can question you, and they can charge you under both provincial and federal law. So you can get yourself in significant trouble fairly quickly. So what can they do for you? So I've got the official word on what can happen. So number one, you're out there with a tripod, you're hanging out, and the CN police walk up to you and they say, hey, you're not supposed to be here. They will check your ID. If you don't have your ID on you, that's perfectly fine. They're going to ask you for your name, your date of birth, that kind of stuff, and you do not lie to them because they're going to radio that information in. You give that to them. They can issue a trespass or a court summons, and a typical fine for trespass is anywhere between $100 and $500. And if you try to fool them about your name or claim what's going on or try to mislead them, you can be arrested for obstruction. So all of this was making me freak out. However, on the flip side, it turns out, like, if you do have a tripod and you're setting up and you're trying to be safe, 99 times out of 100, they will generally issue a warning. The number one piece of advice that I read online is don't sit there and say, yeah, but you didn't mark the property. It's simply to say, I apologize. I didn't realize I was in the wrong spot. And there's no point in escalating, because then what they can do is they can take you as a repeat offender. So in what I was reading online and discussing with a few people, what would simply happen is that they'll come up, say you can't be here, you apologize profusely, they'll tell you to get on your way, and you will, and that's going to be the end of it. But it's also to point out that you are trespassing and breaking the law. So yeah, just be respectful and awesome, and it'll be great. So when I'm thinking about what's going on here, I just very innocently stumbled onto an area that I probably shouldn't have been looking at, and it is what it is. This little piece of footage here, this was coming from Grimsby, and this is the train that went behind me. So I was walking down that path there. You can see where the signals are. That's where the level crossing is. I just came down here and I turned around, and this train is passing through, and my tripod is on the other side of the tracks. I did realize if someone came up the hill, that's it, my camera's gone. But this was the level crossing that, okay, I'm not going to mess with that anymore. N Scale Train Boy, you're there to have fun, and they're there to do their job. End of story. 100%. Again, nothing went wrong for me. It just was, I just felt like it was important to let people know that I went out, I got some great footage. I had a lot of fun doing it, and at the end of the day, it's like I probably ran afoul of some laws. I run games. Have you tried reaching out to them? No, I didn't bother. I went on the website, and they're pretty heavy-handed about the fact, like, don't go near railroad tracks. End of discussion. Denny, borrow a humidifier from my friend and run it 247. Yeah, Kris, for sure, for sure. Just bring a bigger gun. In Scarborough, we're just always packing heat. So Scarborough and Hamilton might be slightly different. Scarborough's got a different way of doing things there. But anyway, as you can see, I mean, it was a great spot for freight, and certainly the passenger equipment coming through was what I was there to take a look at in the beginning. And that just escalated into sort of some fascinating freight trains coming through at super slow speeds. I could have easily run up beside these things, totally unadvisable. Johnny Knoxville, do you have legal concealed carry in Canada? No. No, we don't. M&M Rails, my friend Denny said, it says yours to discover. I know, Paul Stamps, I wish I could get up there before all the GP9s. I feel like all of you are giving bad advice. I think actually what you do want to have happen is me get in trouble and then talk about it. It's not going to happen. Anyway, oh, and all the hearts come up. Great, guys. I appreciate you. Anyway, that is to say, for this particular spot, which was really excellent, I feel like that you could travel to the top of this paved path, and if you kept on this clearly paved path and set up a tripod and stood there, if someone did come along, you probably would just be told, hey, you're not supposed to be here, because literally the bike path is 50 feet away from you. It seems very safe for that. Outside of that, I probably wouldn't bother doing what I managed to do, which was just innocently walk around. And I feel like it just needs to be said, because maybe I would hate to run someone astray. N Scale Train Boy, I really got out and take advantage more often. You know, it's funny. You know, you say that. It is nice to just get out and sort of change your mind. I think sometimes, you know, when you work in this particular scale, you know, and you have this thing here, which is, you know, 22 millimeters tall, and the real deal is 2 stories tall, it's actually pretty impressive to get out and actually look at some trains. And this area was nice because it's not a level crossing and it's dead silent. And maybe that was the one difference, is that there are level crossings and no chimes, no bells, no cars, anything, just really quiet trains running through the countryside. So yeah, but with that, there's other places right in that area you can go. If you go online and search up other YouTube videos, you will definitely run across other people train spotting from spots that are just beyond there, and it's fantastic. And it's also a beautiful park area. Like, it's beautiful. I was walking amongst all of the cobra chickens or the Canada geese, and they generally left me alone. They hissed at me quite a bit, but if you arrive with purpose, they generally don't attack. Anyway, you've got bail money for me. Oh, awesome. Good evening, John Garvin. There was one time in my railfanning days when the Coldwater OPP officer and myself would hang out, shooting the shit, operated, changed it. Okay, very. CP Rail in Ontario, Southland, park empty freight, can access a spot in Woodstock that people always cross. Posted no trespassing signs, won't stop people. No. We don't want you getting locked up. Who's going to do the Thursday night stream? Hey, listen, excellent segue there. So this is the Third Rail Thursday. It's 3 of us fools here in Southwestern Ontario do our best to keep people entertained on a Thursday night. And it breaks down that the first Thursday of every month is little old me. The second Thursday is taken care of by Kris over at Go Via or Go Home. The third Thursday is Mark of M&M Rails, who has embarked on an exciting project where he is tearing out his entire railroad and starting over. looking for big things from Mark. And then the last Thursday of the month is something called GVO After Dark. Throughout the week, there are a bunch of us little beavers running around, certainly on Monday nights. There's Dundas Junction and Trackside Mike interchange with each other and host a stream where nothing but complete chaos and hilarity ensues. So yes, it's, you know what, happy Thursday. So in terms of other things that I'm playing with here, I am still sort of banging away at putting some structures together. And I've got a whole series of kits, and I talked about this. And so I'm not really planning anything, I'm just breaking these apart. And so I had 2 of these faces, and I've broken off a piece, and I'm going to reattach it to the top so I can make a bigger kit over here, and then I'm going to take the smaller kit and turn that into something smaller. And you know, I've got handfuls of junky bits, and I have just spent hours sitting here, and I'm going to do a little bit more tonight. And what you can't see is there's a television literally about an arm length away from me here, and so I put on every single person's live streams that I can find. Every night somebody is always streaming, and it goes on every night, and I sit here and I hang out with all of my international train friends as I hang out and do this. So yeah, I'm going to do a little bit more on this as we sort of talk here. I run games. My buildings are made from cereal boxes. Hey, listen. Oops, sorry. This cardboard is literally cereal box cardboard, and it's being used to put these things together. And in this case, I want to be able to sort of bond these walls together. I've got a bit of schmutz on the back of this thing. What do I got here? I had, at one point in time, I glue gunned all of the fronts of these buildings onto pieces of styrofoam so I could set up cities. And I'm forever and a day still carving all of the glue gun off the back. And so I do want to attach these, but I need to run off a bit of a strip of this one here. And so I'm just going to do that real quickly. I should be able to just snap that now, yep. There we go. So now if I put those together, that mates up pretty well. All right, let's see. I need to get Paul Stamps. The live streaming model railroad community has really started to take off. It's awesome to be part of it. Yes. I can't always catch everyone's streams, but I watch a lot of them in post. There's competing streams on different nights, and so you can't be there for every single person. But it is interesting. I think it's been sort of reinvigorated parts of the hobby for me because there's just so many people that are very willing to jump online and just share and hang out. And it is a nice feeling. It's like being part of a local club that isn't a 3-hour drive away. Now, when I'm joining these buildings together, I sort of did this in another, or I've showed this before. I just use a little bit of printer paper. And again, I like this super thin cement, and I get these silicone or whatever they're made out of tubes. These just attach to the top of the bottle, and it gives you a really fine little bead. And I just run a little bit, and this paper wicks it up. And now this is going to work as a shim for the next piece. And so I've got the paper down. That's actually offering nothing in terms of structure. And then when I just pop on the other part of the building, I can use this little fine tip, and I can just pipe in a little bit of glue. And I've also come to learn that you can just quickly give it a wipe with your finger, and it dries so quickly my finger just is bulletproof, but it's not hurt. And so I'll let that set up for a minute. I can use accelerant, but I find that when you use the accelerant, you know what I mean, that you pump on it and to speed up the drying or the curing time, it tends to build up. Like it doesn't sink in, it actually makes a bit of a mound, and that does show up. And so that's had enough time. So yeah, now that's on the top, and that's pretty solid. So now what I'll do is I'll go in and I'll just quickly cut off the excess paper. Right, there's my building face. And I can give that a bit of a sand later. Good evening, Kris May, nice to see you. In RDK, accelerant works better for slower setting CI glue. Yeah, you know what? Thank you for saying that. It never dawned on me till you said it right now that that's 100% right. I was also thinking, one second here. From the spot that I was standing, I'd forgotten I wanted to sort of go back to this video. This was standing at the crossing, so you can see the bridge over there. I think that's the Lincoln Alexander Parkway crossing over. And you can see the GO train from the spot at Bayview, or Bayfield, you can see that. And you can pull out a little bit and you can still see the train coming. So this is coming off of West Harbour Station, off of Stewart Yard. And now as it sort of rounds the corner. And again, because there's no level crossing, it's not blowing the horn or anything, really great to watch from this spot. Salter, my fingers actually aren't stuck, Mike. They're totally fine. I'm a bit hard on my hands. Just saying. No slug. This is where they blew the horn. I actually got a little bit startled. And this is where he's passing by. So this is actually the level crossing that I pulled over. So I'm standing on the pavement still, but got this shot. I run games. Cool watching it go over the grass growing between the tracks. So this area is totally not maintained. So this one's done, and then the other thing that I want to do is I want to sort of bulk up the top a little more. I've noticed that the buildings, the distance between the very top of the windows to the roof line, you'd be hitting your head. So I just want to throw another one of these little pieces at the top to try to make it a little bulkier. M&M Rails, you could have hid Warcam and hidden the bushes for sure. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'm not exactly sure. I mean, does anyone know how the rail police move around these areas? I mean, are they in trucks? Are they in cars? Are they on a pump truck or a Gandhi dancer going down the rails? So I'm going to just do the same thing I did before, which is drop a few of these in here. And while I'm doing that, let's see if I've got one more video that we can sort of run here. No, I think that's the 3 I had. All right, let's get this other piece glued on. Kraus rails, depending on the train crew, they will call in a trespasser. Fair enough. Yeah, they have a 4X. Okay, so they'll come roaring up the hill. And I'm not in the mood for any of that. Like, I don't need them to be freaking out with me either. Okay, there we go. In terms of when I was standing on the tracks, just to give you a sense of where you are, This is, let me just pop this over. So this is the view looking towards Grimsby, and that is an automotive overpass that you can easily walk to and you could stand in if you wanted to train spot from up there on the bridge. I mean, that is a traffic bridge. Which isn't always ideal. I know that I do quite a bit of rail fanning over near Mimico, where the GO Transit and Via rail yards are, and I stand on the, I think it's the Islington overpass, and you are taking your life in your hands a little bit when you do that. The second area I wanted to sort of show you was, where is it? Pull this up here. So this is standing on the level crossing, and that's looking down towards the Hamilton area. And so the video I just showed you where you saw the GO train working its way around, that's the view from that level crossing. And this is absolutely apparently where I should have not been standing. So, so yes, that is for sure. In all the videos I've seen with rail police, they are parked near the rails, a lot of times near the yards. Fair enough. Trackside Mike, just ask me how I know I got pulled over because I was doing 60 over the track and a 30. Who knew? We need more purposeful train watching spots. It would prevent a lot of headache the nerds cause for them. So to that point, I think then that's a great place to sort of land on here, which is the last spot. Just bear with me here. All right. So this is looking towards Aldershot and Oakville, and you can see in the distance there is a little bridge, and that is a pedestrian bridge that you can stand on, and you will get all of the action from the Dundas sub, the Grimsby sub, and the Oakville sub. Standing there, you don't have to cross any roads. 10 out of 10, not a problem. Free parking near it. I would absolutely suggest that if you want to make sure that you're 100% on the straight and narrow, that would be a fantastic spot to hang out. Super accessible. If you want, I'll bring up that map in the end, but again, if you look up this area, you'll be able to find exactly where that footbridge is. Take a look at Google Maps. It'll make perfect sense to you. Floyd Robertson, I caught some young vandals doing graffiti on the top of that bridge years ago. Living on the edge for sure. Okay, just give this a bit of a cleanup. And a bit rough, and so I'm going to knock that down. I buy bags of emery boards off Amazon, and super inexpensive. You can also go to the beauty supply places or even the dollar store, and they make short work of some of these sort of problems here. So this will be the face of the building, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add sides to it using some styrene. I do have some 2mm styrene. I'm not going to bother crafting sides right now, but I'm going to add those to it. And what I want to do is I want to have these windows open and a sort of a walking area behind it. So I'm going to figure out a way to sort of glue this in from behind, and so the idea is that people sort of slip in here, and it's like a covered area for the shops. One of the other things I've thought about doing is I'm going to replace some of these on the other buildings I have with steel siding, and so it looks like roller doors, and then I can graffiti over them and I can put some signs. So it's sort of like, you know, those bodegas that you might see in New York, etc. Clean up a little bit more of that. Yeah, it's sort of a lousy seam up at the top, but I'm going to cover that with something else. In fact, I might do that now because it bothers me so badly. Maybe a ceiling glued from the back of the face to the top, true entry giving the proper setback. N Scale train boy, yeah, exactly. I'll probably set it back about, oh, I don't know, let's call it half an inch roughly. I think I'm going to run this at about 7 millimeters. And I certainly had been sort of like showing this on a previous Steam. This is just some cardboard. And so I'm going to make a 7 millimeter wide strip just to sort of cover up that seam. And so I've been doing this, I don't know, goodness, probably about 10 different evenings over the past 3 or 4 weeks. And it's been great fun. Mark it with a knife, and away we go. Trackside Mike, I learned at a young age to stand clear of jumping on trains. Okay. Pardon that. All right, it's not bad. That cleans it up. I'll add some piping and some hosing to it. You know, actually, one of the things I wanted to do with is I bought some details, and I talked about this in the last stream, but I never bothered to open it up. So just give me a second here. So the Sunday morning I talked about these real quickly, which was these cornerstone roof details. I bought them because they were $10, but I never looked inside to see what we get. So do an unboxing vid, I guess. Because I'm hoping that I don't have to use these only as roof details. I might be able to use them as, ooh, there's some good cardboard. I might be able to use them as sort of surface details as well. Let's see what we got here. You can go out of the way for a second. Oh, I glued it to my cutting board. N Scale Train Boy. I've been working on rolling stock for a bit now. Back to the layout so I can run trains again after a couple months of the layout being out of commission. I understand that. It was about 6.5 months here without being able to run a train. I know that Kris at GVO was months and months without being able to run trains, and pretty soon Mark is going to be out of commission for running trains. So, first impression, these are pretty crude. I wouldn't call these hyper detailed. Okay. Pedro's, am I okay? I am multitasking over here. What glue are you using? Ah, okay, Pedro, here we go. The super thin. All right, let's see here. So, I'm going to be honest, these are a bit of a letdown. Let's see what we got in this bag. Okay. So we got these little guys, and straight up, I realize that these are N scale, but I'm pretty confident that all of the HO guys out there could pick these up, and you're going to be able to get away with this. All right, so a couple blowers. Literally one blower. And some exhausts and some cyclone vents. Well, okay, so I would say first impressions. Not amazing value, but there's enough here to work with. I felt like for the size of the package, there's more sprue than there is actual components on this. No fault, no problem. I mean, I'm happy to have them. It's just, maybe you want to invest in some 3D printed details, but they'll make total do. Bit surprising there. So back to this guy over here. What do I want to do with this now? Knock that line down. I might add a few bits of additional details on this as well. RDK, Tamiya's extra thin cement is perfect for most styrene kits and parts. Yes, agreed. I've said this several times about the super glue that I'm using. Except in the live streams, I wear a mask when I use this usually. It does bother my lungs, and I'll wake up the next morning quite stuffy. So while I'm using it, I try to sort of make sure I'm in a well-ventilated area. I've got a little fan over there running. But generally speaking, this isn't good for you. And having CA allergies is actually a thing. It's not fatal or anything like that, but it does bother quite a number of people. And I'm one of them. Yeah, definitely. I bought a package of sprues that came with a few detail parts. And for what it's worth, then what I've got then to go alongside that, let's see if I can find the other one. I've already lost my other bits. Paul Stamps, not the first person to be let down by a author's kit, and it won't be the last. Well, I mean, to their credit, these are some sturdy, detail light parts. I'm sure I'm not going to have any problem with them falling apart in my clumsy big hands. So robustness, 10 out of 10. The fact that it comes literally with one blower vent is wild. But here we are. Growing up, we used bits of wire, balsa wood, and bits of dissolved newspaper. I tried to avoid Walther's kits. Yeah, you know what? I saw the kit. I saw the kit in the store, and it was only $10, and I said, that's great. What I'll probably do is I do have an example of another kit that I picked up. Let's put this here. Let's put this down for a second. And let me see if I've got this handy. It was an ITLA kit, I think. I don't know if I've got it handy still. I've been saving them because they're so nice. And then I realized you just save it forever and never use it. Well, that's, oh, there it is. So, one of the things I did pick up, I talked about this in the last little stream, is I got a bunch of different styrene tubes, and I've got different sort of skewers and toothpicks which come into piping. And so the buildings that I've got at the back there, the structures are basically done, and then I'm going to revisit them and put like air conditioning units and pipes on them, just pass over pass over pass, and then I'll eventually get to a point where I paint them all in a big group. To be fair, though, I want to point out that for just a little bit more than that Walther's kit, I picked up an ITLA kit, and this is laser cut roof details. I hope you can see that. They are amazing, and so I've been actually saving these because I feel like I need to have a really good structure. Hopefully that top picture, yeah, it's kind of lousy. And then the other one that I've picked up is by GreenMax, and it is from Plaza Japan. And it calls a structure kit, but it's a bunch of different tanks and hoses and supports and such. And again, amazing kit. And so I think this detail kit was maybe $15 or $20, and it's got way more components than that other kit. And then this one that I got from Plaza Japan a couple of years ago, again, was maybe $8 or $9. It wasn't a lot of money, and so, you know, trying to get a hold of all these N Scale Train Boy, ITLA is quality stuff. Absolutely, really good stuff. This particular detail kit is both for N and HO, and I'm happy to have it. It's going to go on to my Union Station area, for sure. Paul Stamp, cyberpunked with all that piping. Yeah, it's a layering process. I love using the Bob Smith Industries Maxi Cure Extra Thick 10-20 Cure, and I play with toothpicks most times. Fuzzy was he. Yeah, that makes sense. One of the things that I've done with this particular glue in the past is I used it an awful lot for like riprap and crumbling. And I'm going to be doing that. So the walls that I built for the back of the layout, the retaining walls, I'm going to make them decaying. And so a few weeks ago I showed how I was using, it was Goof Off or Goo Gone to melt the styrofoam. And what I've figured out in the past is that I can put plaster, like paper thin, on, let's say, a piece of glass of saran wrap, and then you break it up and you get these sort of shards. And what this is really good for is that you can spoon those against a building and have it sort of look like debris that's crumbling, and then you can soak it with this and it cures instantly, as opposed to, let's say, dumping you know, diluted white glue and then having to wait. And so you can build up rubble piles really quickly. And so it's the reason I pick it up is because it is so thin that you can kind of wash things with it and turn them into solid structures. All right, so I'm not going to open that right now. For what it's worth. So let's see, which is the better comparison camera? So here is the Wathers detail parts, right? Certainly no problem, they will never break. And here is a bag of an equivalent costing detail parts from a Japanese manufacturer. So, no problem. So, save these for something else as well. Well, I don't think I'm not going to open up those right now. I've opened up the other parts. I've put together a real small little structure here for the time being. I had a bunch of other parts laying around here that I've completely misplaced all of them. So what I've got is I've got this building that's now this tall, and its twin where I took the piece off is now this tall. I'm going to change them up. I'm going to paint them some different colors. I've also got an embarrassing number of other kits that I've picked up. I keep finding a lot of kits. If you're an N scaler, and I realize that only 10% of you in the chat here will be, you know, you need to look overseas, because certainly like Kato, Tomix, all those guys have wonderful kits. They may not be 100% appropriate for here. And as I look at this, you know, the window structures on this aren't great. And so what I will probably do, so bear with me here, is knock out the mullions. So there's the, how do I do it? Gosh, I can't figure it out. Anyway, I knocked out the window mullions, and that'll make it look a lot more North American than sort of the individual window mullions. And so I'll go through and I'll just quickly do that, and it'll start looking fairly distinct from the other kit. Trackside Mike, I'm switching to N scale. It'll never happen, Mike. I'm an HO scale, but I'm working on an N scale freight car tonight. Oh, wow. Pedro Spicer, nice show tonight. I'm going to get out of here. If any of you are ever going to the convention, please say hi. I'm not going to the convention, Pedro, but I do appreciate you popping in saying hello. I found Pedro's YouTube channel certainly at the beginning of the pandemic, and he's got a beautiful N scale layout. So I do appreciate you stopping by and saying hello. Very thoughtful of you. Appreciate that. Oh, thanks, Denny. CO heard that. Oh, goodness. Well, you know what? For me to do any more on this particular structure, I need to basically like clear off this entire thing and pull out my sheet of styrene. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So everyone knows that they can go get evergreen siding, which is great. Styrene is available in sort of bulk quantities. So this is a quarter of the sheet of styrene I bought for my scratch building. I do need to basically just do like a full bar sweep on this countertop to start slicing this up to build some sides on the building. And so I don't think that's how I'm going to spend my evening here. And honestly, that piece of styrene probably cost $20, right? So the bags of styrene that we typically buy, you know, are $20, and that cost very little. You can find industrial styrene manufacturers. And, oh, here's two good styrene sources that I have discovered. There are tub surrounds, right? So you've got your bathtub and you get the corner modules that have like the nooks to put your soap on, and there is the panels that go in between those nooks. They are not worth a lot of money relative to the size, and they are styrene. So if you want to go out and get one of those, you have got an infinite supply of styrene. And the second one is, if you hit up the dollar store and you find like the no trespassing, guard dog signs, there are some that are using like a gator board, but the rest are actually really thin styrene. And again, they're 99 cents a sheet. Certainly they have paint on one side, but you can absolutely go out and find these no trespassings for sale signs, and now you've got fairly thin styrene sheets. So between the tub surrounds and the no trespassing signs, you're mostly on your way there. Grab a couple cereal boxes and some really thin super glue, and you're kind of in good shape. You know what? I think because I need to start making a mess, we're probably approaching a pretty good stopping point. So in review, basement flooded, and I'm still working through that dampness. I have a P42 and an F40 added to the layout, which I'm probably, this one's going to get some sort of custom paint job. Hey, if you want to go rail fanning, it's not so much that you're taking your life in your hands, but you may be taking your freedom in your hands if you decide to trespass on properties. And certainly if for anyone in the Southwestern Ontario area, if you want to check out the junction there is an excellent train spotting place on the overpass, which you will be hassle-free and guaranteed to see a ton of action, particularly towards the early mornings. And I think that's just about it. So, a little bit of action, a little bit of talking, fun night. I do appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for joining me. Have an amazing Thursday night and Friday. Hope your weekends all go well, and I'll see you next time.